What's going on, everyone? This is Sheets, and I'm going to be going over the Open Championship, formerly known as the British Open, I guess. I don't know which is preferred. Nonetheless, they're offering millions of dollars, so they can call it whatever they want. We're going to be playing. And I'm going to be going over this from a DFS perspective. I also have a couple of outright bets that I want to share with you guys, just total vibe based. You know what I mean? Like I just want some action. So if you guys want to tail, just a few dollars, be something cool to root for, I suppose. So we'll get to that a little bit later. Um, Last week was really frustrating. I had Chris Goddard up as my highest owned golfer, and he won, and I lost money anyway. That is very difficult to do, but I managed. What's up, All Star? Good to see you. Um, Pretty well nailed the UFC slate last week. The exception of getting very, very stubborn about Mike Davis and his price. So I had way too little of that, and that's what cost me. And also, and we'll do this when we do UFC. I mean, there was no way that Walter Walker was going to be less than 35% owned, and everybody had him at like 25, and I just didn't get it. And he ended up smashing at 40%. So this week is going to be a little bit different type of card nonetheless. All right, so golf for this week. All right, let's talk about this. So first of all, it's 2 a.m. start time, I guess, 1:30 a.m., things like that. That is correct, All-Star. That is correct, and we'll have that again this week probably. We'll get there. So here's the thing about this tournament. You have Scotty Scheffler at 14,200, and then a huge drop to Rory, Rahm, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what they did was they made a 5K range, which means that even though Scotty Scheffler's 14.2, you can get to him in very, very fine style if you wanted to, very, very easily. And hey, what's up, Joanne? And it's not only that there's a 5K range. It's not that there's a 5K range that makes Scotty Scheffler accessible. It's that because there's a 5K range, they have much better golfers in the 6K range. You know what I mean? Like if 6K were like kind of the bottom, then guys that we'll get to would be like 7K, and you wouldn't be able to get there. So it's not that you want to play all these 5K guys. It's that the 5K guys make the 6K guys just like better golfers, you know? So it really is a battle of lineup construction, as it always is. And the other thing I will say is that I think that this slate is a good example of why you need to use, not you need to, but why using an unbiased tool like an optimizer or SaberSim or a simulator or anything other than your own biases is going to help you. And we're going to get to, I think, a pretty good example of that. And it's listen, it's something I talk about all the time, like not looking at things in terms of players or price or even lineups, but in terms of how they work together. And we'll get there. So here's the thing. You could certainly make a case for anybody, right? But let's do what we usually do. We'll go tier by tier. And then I'll give you my takes on this. Okay, so DeChambeau, Rahm, McIlroy, Scheffler, right? Make a case for all of them, fine. DeChambeau, all the kind of no ball golfers are suggesting that this is just not a good course fit for him. And this is what's funny about golf DFS. Like golf DFS, all that stuff gets put into the projections, and yet people just double and triple count that stuff all day long. They're very content providers are so narrative based in a sport that's so data driven. So the fact that this course may or may not be conducive to DeChambeau's skill set. Number one, that is, I believe, fully baked into projections. And if it isn't, the narrative being driven is going to affect the ownership. Okay, so it's all in there already. Okay, so don't come out and say I'm not playing DeChambeau because because he's not uh, because this course isn't good for him. All right, if the course isn't good for him, his projection is going to be low, and you won't get to him anyway. But if you do get to him because of the projections, it means that projection is not low enough. And if you get to him when you use SaberSim in a format which rewards low ownership, then you shouldn't then go say, well, no, I'm not playing DeChambeau because of the way his course fit operates. So I do feel as though that if you get to DeChambeau, you should be perfectly comfortable with it because even though it might not be a good course fit, that's already been factored in, and you might argue that it's factored in too much only because of the ownership. But it is a major, which means that more people are going to be more casuals are going to be playing it. So I don't know. I mean, they might just click DeChambeau's name anyway, even if it were a bad course fit and his projection was low and his price was high or whatever. So I don't think he's going to be as low in, say, the low owned in the lottery. I think people are going to play him anyway. I think in the big buy-ins, people are going to get all fancy and go with the course fit thing and not play him. I have no problem getting to him. I mean, quite honestly. Scotty Scheffler, as I mentioned, he projects the best player as he will for quite some time, I believe, and he's priced on a relative basis, obviously like too high. I'm not going to say too high, like much higher than McIlroy and whatever, and Rahm and DeChambeau. But the thing is that you can't look at this in terms of individual golfers. You can't look at DFS in terms of individual plays. Yes, your lineup is made up of individual plays, but you have to think of it in the very least in terms of a lineup. Okay, we'll get to portfolios later, but in terms of a lineup, like there are guys that you could pair, or that optimizers could pair, or that just the calculators compare with Scheffler and make it work. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not like Scheffler is at 14-2. He's like priced out of the running. There are just so many good 6K guys that you can play with him that it's totally reasonable to play him at 14-2, I believe, because it's not just playing with 14-2. It's playing him with a whole bunch of 6K guys who may otherwise be 8K golfers. Okay. So I think he's fine. I think there's a chance he ends up being underowned maybe, but we can't only that's not possible again just because there's a lot of casuals playing and he's going to get ownership. The guy who I believe is going to get just uber crammed in everything is John Rahm. No matter how many times I run everything, he just gets crammed into all the lineups. Okay, you have to work with your settings to keep him out of it, which means that he's just going to be higher owned for everybody. Like I currently have an ownership projection of him of 28%. I think that's a pipe dream. I mean, I might literally manually, and it kind of sucks because I'll tell you, my golf projections, ownership wise, have been so freaking good recently. I'm not embarrassed to say, I'm getting pretty good at this. Okay, not expert. I wouldn't, like say I'm an expert ownership creator or whatever, but I'm getting pretty freaking good. And uh my normal process would lead me to leave it at 28% for the purposes of running sims and stuff, but I just know he's going to be higher. So I'm considering manually upping his ownership, which of course is going to have to come at the expense of some others. Just because It's a nasty combination of him actually having good stats and being informed, whatever, plus all kinds of narrative. That's going to drive casuals in here also. So he is going to be just uber crammed, and you have to figure out what you want to do with that, because when I run these Saber Sim builds or whatever, that's really all I'm getting. And we'll have to see. Maybe just maybe like McElroy slips a little bit because of what I just said. I mean, I don't know. Rory really can't slip too much. What do I have? Let me just see something. I have for Rory his ownership at 24%. I guess that sounds right. I guess that sounds right. So up in here, I mean, you could get to whoever you want, and in my builds, I'm getting to a bunch of them. I'm getting Scotty, I'm getting DeChambeau, I'm getting Ron. I just am. Okay, moving down the list, the 9Ks and lower. It reminds me. I mean, I said this about the Scottish Open as well, and it seemed to have worked out rather nicely. I think that in tournaments like this that have like a lot of links style golf and all this stuff, there's a natural bias towards those British players and those British, those European players, the guys like Shane Lowry with the big beard and Terrell Hatton and slugging through the mud to get there with the British accent and this and keeping rain and cold and hard and like whatever, and kind of a bias against like the spiffy American that's going to come on in with the fancy pants outfit and get eaten up by Mother Nature or something like that. So I believe that though all those golfers that I refer to, and we'll get to some of them, are going to get a little extra ownership than maybe their stats deserve. For example, I mean, like Tommy Fleetwood, okay, Robert McIntyre. I already mentioned Terrell Hatton. We haven't gotten into the 9K range yet. When we get 8Ks, when we get to back to Shane Lowry, like all those European type guys. Um, uh, so in the 9K range, I would give an ownership bump to McIntyre. I think he's going to get higher owned because of what I just said. I think Lowry is going to get bumped because of what I just said. I think Fleetwood's going to get bumped for what I just said. Schauffele is going to be the test, okay? Because Schauffele has all kinds of narrative and all kinds of stuff going to him, and he should get some more juice. We'll just see. If they don't play Schauffele again, that I don't know what to say. I think he's got to get a little bit extra ownership, so I think I'm going to bump him up a little bit in my ownership projections. But when it comes to actually who looks good, I mean, I'm looking at my numbers here, and Fleetwood does look the best, okay, of all of them, and he looks the best by a lot. Like I'm looking, and I don't have anybody like remotely close to him in the 9K range. Now again, you see a 19% ownership though number, so you got to figure out what to do with that. And fortunately, I don't really need to figure that out. I'm just going to let kind of Saberson kind of do its thing. But I might change the ownership projections a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to change I'm not going to change the point projections. I'm not that good. Okay. But I think I can get a feel for what the ownership is going to be on some of these guys. And when you make adjustments like that, what that does, it filters down to all your lineups. Like if you rate them by Saber score, you're going to get different lineups. If you run the Sims, you're going to get different lineups. And what you're going to get different lineups because I'm going to use a different field. Okay. Because I'm going to have project different ownership for these guys. So my 5,000 or 20,000 lineups is going to look a little bit different against that type of field. So that's why the majority of what I'm going to spend time on here is, I'm going to talk about who good plays are, but let's think about what ownership projections we can kind of mess around with. All right, let's take a look at the 8K guys. I already mentioned one of the McIntyre, Hatton. These guys are going to get jammed. They just are. They always are. And then you have guys like Colin Morikawa, who nobody wants to play, and nobody wants to play in whatchamacallit, in link style golf and the whole thing. He's going to be just no one's going to play him. Okay. They might play Patrick Cantlay only because, again, like they'll look and they'll say, "Oh my God, Patrick Cantlay's really 8K or whatever." Hovland, they'll get some ownership. So I think that the guy that you might want to either take a shot on or at least project for extra low ownership, which might give you that shot, would be Morikawa. Let me look at the projection. He actually looks like a pretty good projection. And what's cool is that they have him at 15% ownership. If I can invent a way to get that lower in my projection, like either manually or whatever, then that's the way I'm going to end up getting more of him. So again, I don't have to just say give me a minimum 30% of Colin or 20% Colin, whatever. But if you make that adjustment and put him down in ownership a little bit, maybe you'll get to him. All right. By the way, after we do this, I am going to run a build so you can see what I'm kind of looking at here. First let's look at the actual projections and see who actually looks good in the 8K range. Victor Hovland, as I mentioned, looks very strong. And then the next one I have is Morikawa. That's so cool, So I think Morikawa could be the idea here. All right. So we could do. I mean, I think we could probably do the whole 7K range. There's only like 4 guys over 7,500. So these first two, like Henley and Fitzpatrick, I think they're both very live here. I think Henley. I mean, fundamentally, it's hashtag course fit, right? It's gonna reward. It's a good combination because it's gonna reward accuracy, and yet he's just kind of not thought of as like a European, whatchamacallit, link style golf guy. So I think he's going to model decently against this course, yet people won't think he will play on the course well. So he'll be probably good as far as maybe getting a little lower ownership than maybe people think. I think Fitzpatrick is going to get jammed. I mean, he's obviously playing much better now. He's English and all that stuff. Like I have him at 15% ownership. I guess that's fair. Maybe move him up to 20. I wonder what action wise he looks pretty good. It's like I have 13th overall. What's his name? Guy I just mentioned. Henley. I don't even see where Henley is on the list here. Hold on, let me just see something. Russell Henley. I have a value score of 260. Put somewhere. That's not too bad, but 37th. Yeah. So, and I have him at 13% ownership. Maybe he gets ignored somewhat. Maybe he gets ignored somewhat. So, I think Henley's probably pretty solid. Okay. What else here? Burns. See, Straka feels like again a guy who's just going to get played. Connors feels like a guy that's going to get played. Ryan Fox feels like a guy that's going to get played. Adam Scott, 7,300 feels like a guy that's going to get played. Justin Rose. Maybe guys that might not get played too much are Spieth. Maybe Matsuyama. Again, you're looking for these non-British guys that you just don't think can do this course. But I'll tell you who one of my favorites is, honestly. And I'm going to have a bet on him. I bet 180 on him to win like 4 million or whatever the hell it was. Ben Griffin at 7,300. I mean, again, if I had to ignore my projections, did whatever, I would say, let's just do that. And I do have him in a bet. I do have Fitzpatrick plus 55 to 1. I forgot to mention that. And I have Ben Griffin plus like 100 plus. Um, he's he's in some of the best form there is. I mean, the last couple of weeks hasn't been great, but before that, he was killing it. So I do like that a lot. So with that said, I mean, you want guys like Burns, Griffin, maybe, and it would be nice if they showed up decently in the projections. So let's take a look. So no, the top guy I have in the projections is Connors and Straka. I mentioned, and then Fitzpatrick. I do have Burns looking pretty good though. So Burns, of all those guys I mentioned, is my fits both, projects decently, and might not be that highly owned because of anti-US bias, whatever. So I think Burns is probably a good idea here, and I think he'll be maybe lower owned than I'm projecting. Okay, so now we get into these 6Ks. Now again, usually in the 6Ks, that's when you're in the bottom of the barrel. You're just looking for guys to make the cuts or whatever. But these guys are all good. Okay. And the thing is that don't think of them in terms of themselves. Think of them in terms of Scotty. Think of them in terms of being able to play Scheffler with this incredible win odds with one of these guys. And what people are going to be inclined to do, I'm going to get there in a minute, is people are going to play Scheffler with like these 6K guys. They will. Because as I said, it matches up really nicely. So what some people might suggest is, if you want to get different, you know what? Play one of these guys or play these guys without Scheffler. Because even though, let's say, one of these guys is, say, 10% owned, they're all going to be combined with Scheffler. They're going to be, the combinatorial ownership of that is going to be pretty high. But the problem with that is if you play these 6K guys without Scheffler, you're forgetting why you're playing them. You know what I mean? Like, Scheffler is the best play. Okay, he's the best play. He's rates to score the most fantasy points. He rates to win an incredible amount more than everybody else. And to play these 6K guys without him, I'm not saying you can't do it, but they're laying it out there for you. You know what I mean? Like, this is an opportunity to get access to all this Scotty Scheffler data without it really costing you too much, because these guys are all good. So if instead you mess around with that and you play him with, say, even Rahm, just to get different or whatever, I think you're missing the point, and you're kind of missing the math here. So I have no problem with this idea of playing like a bunch of these, not a bunch of them, like a big amount of my exposure to these 6K guys to be paired with Scheffler. I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, there are some guys in this range that do stand out, at least in my early runs, and those are going to be 3 guys. It's going to be Harry Hall, well, in order: Maverick McNeely, Harris English, and Harry Hall. I mean, they all project around 10%. That sounds about right, I guess. And I think that using those guys is extremely important on this type of slate. Other guys I could throw at you are Aaron Rye, Nick Taylor. I mean, all these guys. Keegan Bradley, 6,700. That's pretty insulting, right? Last week's hero, Marco Penji. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Okay, if you get one of these guys to make the cut, and Scheffler is doing his thing, you're happy, pretty much. So yeah, so that was it. So Hall, McNeely, and third one, English are my 3 top guys, and they'll be owned somewhat, but I think that's okay. I think that's okay. Yeah. So Gabriel is making because of how deep the field is. Scotty Lyons is still projecting well, and a viable 65 can recommend normal balance and not give up the win equity. Well, No, I mean, like you need the win equity of the guys. I think that guys that are going to win a lot. So I think that because the 5 and 6K guys look pretty good. I just don't think that you could fade Scotty in this spot because they make it so easy. Not so easy. They make it so amenable for you to get to him. I mean, and I've done this before, guys. I really have. I've said, okay, Scotty's 14K. I just X him out, right? And you know what I end up getting? I have all these awesome guys. Like I have Rom and Xander and Bryson and Rory McIlroy and all these guys. Why don't I just pretend that Scotty doesn't exist? And all he's got to do is I get fourth and I kind of win. I've been there. I've done that, and it sucks. It's you're getting different in construction for no reason, not for no reason, for an ownership reason. But it's to me, it's just not worth it. I would not intentionally go balanced. I mean, listen, if you get there, you get there. I don't mind. What I think is just more useful is to just figure out what adjustments can be made pre-flop, and then just kind of go with them. So I think it's possible. I was about to say that maybe these guys are going to be higher owned than 10%, but I don't think so. Not in the lottery. You might get a a big ownership number on McNeely in the 888 or the 4444 or something. But I don't think in the lottery that's going to be much of an issue. And I think the 5K range. I think this might be the sucker bet. Okay, I think so. I think that people might be inclined to click these guys. Okay, and I'll tell you the two main guys people are going to click. I don't think you need to, and I think that there is a difference between these guys and the 6Ks. But I'll throw the two guys out there. I mean, Max Greiserman, I believe. I mean, he looks the best. I mean, you only have him projected at 5% ownership. We'll see about that. Got a couple of them, I guess. Kevin Yu, they only have a 3% ownership. Okay. And then Jordan L. Smith. So all three of those guys are reasonable. The other guy that again he's not projecting well, but I have to say that I'm betting him. I mean, I got a guy at 2% ownership that 5,700 that I'm betting outright to win, and that would be Akshay Bhatia. I don't know. I just have again. It's honestly just vibes. I mean, I have no real data to support this. But let me just. Ooh, can I see who I have here? Hold on, let's. I want to get the actual odds that I got. And I'm sure I didn't get the right the best odds. Kevin's going to come in here and yell at me. Why don't you go on MGM or Chicago-based or some other site? You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I'm just that guy. What can I tell you? I don't want to keep 5 accounts. I don't want to have to just hunt for an extra 10 cents. I'm just too busy. I just want to play my shit and just move on. That's the count on, I guess. But all right, so let's take a look at my bets. I'll just show you what I have here. Open. So I have Ben Griffin at 90-1. That's 180 to win. Let's show that. Let's share this tab instead. Okay. So we have Ben Griffin at 90-1, 180 to win 16,000. We have Akshay Bhatia at 170-1. That's 180 to win 30,000. And then we have Matt Fitzpatrick, 180 to win 10,080. So those are the plays. Now I guess I will go over. I mean, we'll do the same thing. You want to do the we'll do the game, or we'll do the game where I pick my favorites from the tiers and whatever. What's my projection on Captain America? Who is that? Oh, Bradley. Yeah, he looks good. He looks good. I mean, he's definitely in play at 6,700. All right. So, who's going to win the tournament? I think Scotty Scheffler was going to win the tournament. I'm going to tell you. All right, top guy under 10K to make top five. I think Aberg or Elberg. I think he's live. I'll throw him in there. Top guy under 9K to make top 10. I'm going to go a little contrarian here, and I will say Colin Morikawa. Top guy under 8K to make top 20. Let's go with Russell Henley. Top guy under, well, we'll give one for each. Top guy under 7K to make the cut. I mean, any of those guys that I mentioned look pretty good. I'll go with Batia to make the cut, and then top guy under 6K to make the cut. I will say, I guess it has to be Grazerman, right? Yeah, so we'll go with Max Grazerman. Top guy over 9K to miss the cut. Ooh, man, this is tough. Gotta be one of these European guys. So Lowry, McIntyre, Fleetwood. It's got to be one of these three, right? Or Rory. It's gonna be one of these four: Hatton, McIntyre, Lowry, or Fleetwood. So let's just look at who's got the worst projection relative to their price. Actually, let's just do just raw. Okay. Fleetwood's at the top, then Schauffele. McIntyre is down here. I think Shane Lowry is probably my answer. Yeah, so I'll say Shane Lowry misses the cut. Let's do a SaberSim build where we just put all of this to work. And again, I'm going to change this a little later anyway. Doesn't really matter. Oh, by the way, we have a little bit of a hashtag cushion. I don't know if you saw it, but I took down the tennis that started 2 days ago. Actually, it just finished up today. I took that down solo for a 10 spot. So we are so we got a hashtag cushion, and we're gonna need it because I have $9,932 in entries in this bad boy. All right, so let's just run it using, I don't know whose projections you're going to use. Let's use. Let me see. How about an average of all these guys? There you go. Average of all this stuff, just for the hell of it. Let's build 5,000 lineups, and we'll keep everything the same. Actually, for the contest fields, you know what? Let's just go with what they want. So let's use SaberSim's fields. And then we're going to build it in the portfolio diversification mode here. So let's just pile this in. And let's see what we get. I wonder if we get like all of that John Rahm that I suggested before. Because that's what I was getting, I think before. It's just a nonstop shoveling of the John Rahm lineups. Let's just take a look. Oh, wait. I have to share it. Sorry about that. Share it right now. Yeah, the tennis was the nuts. It took 2 days too. But yeah. We also got third, by the way. How about that? Let's see. Where are we here? Oh, okay. So it's all built. Now let's run the contest sims. And we'll have it diversify for us, and we'll see what we ended up doing. And again, the only thing I didn't do is I didn't make those adjustments that I talked about. So all we're really doing is just running our regular projections and seeing what we're getting. I think that's gonna I'm going to predict 45% John Rahm across my lineups. We shall see here. Trying to think if I want to do the UFC thing today. So I got a busy day tomorrow. I think I might. Maybe I'll do it at 3 o'clock. Okay, still diversifying the lineups here. Remember, the longer they change lineups, diverse it is. All right, so exposure, as suggested, 41% Rom. That's over 65 lineups. I mean, 150 lineups, whatever. Then DeChambeau, then a drop. Scheffler, Fleetwood, Hovland. All of the guys that we mentioned, and 21% Maverick McNeely. It's a very healthy number of him. 20% Morikawa, that's good. Yeah, so that's what I would end up getting here. But again, we're gonna do this again a little bit later. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to share that with you. It's gonna be like I don't know when I'm gonna be able to do it. Actually, I'll come back from dinner, put it in before I go to sleep, I suppose. Any other questions pending? No, I'm not, Jimmy. Actually, I am, but I'm not. I don't really know what I'm doing. I mean, I'll put like 10 lineups in, maybe just for a sweat. But it's like very intimidating, to hear all the chatter and all the people on Twitter and all the people that spend so much time like investigating and drafting and simulating and all this stuff. It's very intimidating to play into that. I don't mind just for fun or whatever, but I really feel like completely dead money in it. I mean, I'll tell you, I mean, my approach is going to be literally just probably stuff that's no good anymore. Just do my best to have big stacks in like week 16, 17, 18 when you're in the playoffs. And then just kind of just pick some good ranking system somewhere and just draft that way, I guess. But like hear all this talk of these people that are just animals at best ball. It's just very I don't know. I don't know how they expect other people to casuals to want to play if these are the types of people we're being marketed against. So I don't know. All right, I guess that is going to do it. Good luck, everybody, tomorrow on the slate, and I will be posting showdown sheets as I finish them. Good luck, everybody.